This is Brett Stewart of Global Agri-Trends with an AgStar video blog. Investigative findings by the federal police in Brazil rocked global protein markets in March. A report that was released on March 17th reported that Brazilian meat plant employees had been bribing public health inspectors to allow the sale of spoiled meat, often masked by chemicals and dye. As a result, 33 arrest warrants have been issued. Public inspectors had been fired and 21 meat and poultry plants were suspended from operations. Global bans quickly ensued. Some countries banned the entire Brazilian meat and poultry sector. Others banned specific plants. Some Asian retailers began pulling Brazilian meat and poultry from their shelves. Within a week, though, most of these key bans were lifted. Currently, only markets buying about 13% of Brazil's meat and poultry last year remain closed. So Brazil is the #1 chicken and beef exporter globally in tonnage. They account for 21% of global meat and poultry trade, 19% of global beef exports, and 8% of global pork exports. So let's take a look at their pork sector. Brazil reports about 3 million sows, just more than half of the US. They rank #4 in global pork production if you consider the EU as one group. In 2016, USDA numbers calculate to about 13.5 pigs produced per sow per year. That's a pretty low level, even below China. So this Brazilian pork industry is somewhat fragmented. Brazil's pork exports totaled 1.4 billion in 2017. 10% of that was offal. That accounted for about 24% of their production. Brazil's exports have surged quickly the past 2 years, with 2016 up 33% from the prior year. The majority of that growth was driven by China and Russia. China approved a whole group of Brazilian plants in 2015 and 2016 to allow those exports to grow. Also, remember, Brazil is the key remaining supplier to the mostly closed Russian market. Take a look at this chart. This chart shows Brazil's top 15 pork export markets in 2016, with the other suppliers that ship pork into those markets. The green in each bar is Brazil's share of pork into that market. Blue is the EU and red is the US pork in those markets. Since China is such a large market on this chart, take a look at this second chart. I've scaled it down, the y-axis down to 800,000 tons, so we can actually see the other markets. Note that the US does not ship pork to most Brazilian export markets outside of China, Hong Kong, and Chile. China and Chile reopened to Brazilian meat and poultry following a short ban last week. So if you look at this chart, based on this information, current bans on Brazilian pork exports hold little potential for US pork gains. The real beneficiary by this data looks to be EU pork, which also has a secondary impact on the global pork markets and potentially on US pork. Again, this has been Brett Stewart of Global Agri-Trends for an AgStar video blog.